the nature of the business is without yarn, you can't fill a loom and you can't make any fabric. So everything starts with the fiber that gets spun into the yarn.
That's Dave Cook from Tuscarora Mills, and this is the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. Hello there, my name is Eric Herlock. We got a fun little field trip ahead of us today. We're gonna go out in search of a Pennsylvania supply chain. Yep, we're going from the field to the loom today. So we're going to talk to Dave Cook, but first we're going to stop by Steve Groff's farm in Lancaster County before we head over to York County to see Dave. All right, so we got a lot in store today. We're going to talk about a green decorticator. We're going to talk about how yarn is made, lots of stuff. I learned a great deal on this episode, and I hope you will too. Before we get into anything else, though, I need to take a moment and share some bad news. Over the course of this show, back in the early days especially, I got to know a farmer here in Lancaster County by the name of Tom Colton. And we got word a couple of weeks ago now that he passed away. He was 44 years old. He is survived by his wife, Alicia, at their farm in Virginia. So I'm going to be putting together a memorial episode for Tom because he was one of a kind, and I can't really believe that he's gone. So anyway, I just want to mention that because I believe that Tom is still listening to our show. Anyway, so we're now going to get into our sponsor messages, and then we'll go talk to Steve Groff in Lancaster County and Dave Cook in York County. All right, here we go. This episode is brought to you in part by I&D Hemp in Fort Benton, Montana, where they believe in the goodness of hemp. I&D Hemp is a family-owned, mission-driven industrial hemp food, feed, and fiber company that's providing new opportunities for American farmers. Learn more at indhemp.com. This episode is also made possible with support from Forever Green, distributors of the KP4 hemp cutter. Introducing a revolution in hemp harvesting, setting a new standard for harvesting quality, speed, and efficiency, the KP4 prepares hemp for ideal retting and easy on-field tedding, raking, and baling. It's easy to maintain and designed to withstand the punishments of hemp harvesting. The KP4 hemp cutter, available only at hempcutter.com. The show is also brought to you with support from the National Hemp Association. If you're in the fiber and grain hemp space, you should know about the National Hemp Association. Industrial hemp is rooted in farms and built for industry, and NHA is working to build supply chains, support rural development, and push for the policy changes that fiber and grain producers need. Learn more and get involved at nationalhempassociation.org. All right, got a couple of news nuggets here for you, and these come to us from Hemp Today. Check them out at hemptoday.net. Peru, South American country Peru, has opened a 90-day public consultation on draft hemp rules, finally moving toward implementation of the framework law it passed last year. Advocates say the country has potential in food, textiles, construction, and CBD exports, but commercial hemp activity can't begin until regulations are finalized. Licenses may not arrive until well into 2026. In Washington, D.C., a new draft bill from Congressman Morgan Griffith of Virginia would regulate intoxicating hemp products instead of banning them outright. The proposal sets packaging, labeling, and milligram limits, restricts sales to adults 21 and older, and brings FDA oversight into the picture. But the measure is not part of the delayed Farm Bill. It's moving separately through appropriations, where hemp rules have been hotly contested. Brazil faces a critical September 30th deadline to finalize hemp regulations after a court ruling removed low-THC cannabis from the country's narcotics law. Observers worry the government may restrict cultivation to pharmaceutical use, shutting out opportunities in textiles, food, and bioplastics. Industry stakeholders caution that an overly narrow framework could leave Brazil trailing regional leaders such as Uruguay and Colombia. Meanwhile, Brazil's medical CBD market, already worth around $400 million, is in the middle of a price war. Domestic giant Prati Danadunzi and U.S. player Ease Labs have slashed retail prices by up to 40%, making products more affordable for patients and signaling a maturing marketplace. Analysts say the cuts are about locking in physician trust and growing patient numbers, even at thinner margins. All right, there you go, a handful of news nuggets from hemptoday.net. Check them out on an internet near you. All right, getting back to the show. So, last week I got up early and I drove out to Steve Groff's farm in southern Lancaster County. It's about an hour and 20 minutes from here. I listened to Indian classical music on the way, and it was a lovely morning drive out to Steve's farm. And I caught up with him in the hemp field, and I've been there many times before. He's been on the show many times before, but this time he's got something super cutting edge, I think. It's this green decorticator. We're going to talk to him about it. It could be a game changer in a lot of ways. If it works the way he hopes, it could eliminate retting, cut down on dust, and give processors like Dave Cook exactly the kind of clean, long fiber they need to make Pennsylvania textiles. So here's my conversation with Steve, standing in what he calls his hemp canyon. Steve, can you describe where we are right now?
Oh, we're actually in a hemp canyon. It's actually a waterway in the middle of one of my hemp fields, and we have this towering hemp on both sides of us here that I actually measured some stalks 15 feet tall, one 16 foot, by the way, a tall one. But yeah, it's kind of cool today. We have a nice little breeze blowing, and you can hear the crickets chirping. Hear them? Yeah, you can hear the crickets. It's just really neat to kind of experience the interior of a hemp field.
Yeah, because it's tall all around us. It's big and green. The sun is filtering in up there, and yeah, it's a beautiful day here in Holtwood.
And we got that blue sky, which, for me right now, I want drier weather. It's harvest time, and so yeah, we kind of had I guess you could say an up and down year, but mostly good for the hemp. So here it is. It grew well, and we're about ready to start harvest.
Well, tell me, the variety. Tell me any sort of information about your planting.
This is MS77. It originates from Australia. We've tested it the past few years. It's done well here for what we're trying to do with textile grade fiber and also the use of the herd. We have another variety called Jurassic that's from Canada that we also used. Just a little test plot of that, and that's much more mature than the MS77. The MS77 is a very long season variety, so that's why it grows so tall. This was actually planted the third week of April.
Oh, wow.
And so it's had plenty of time, but there's not a bud in sight yet. I haven't seen a bud yet. And the past couple years, we started seeing buds in the second week of September. So probably here in the next 2 weeks, we'll be starting to see buds.
Okay, and now you mentioned textile grade fiber, and from what I understand, you're going to be harvesting this with a green decorticator that you're working on with Larry Serban and Ding. Can we mention that too? Yeah, and it's coming along, and then we're starting to see a supply chain develop here in Pennsylvania with Pennsylvania hemp, because I understand that this hemp is then going to go to Tuscarora Mills, and Dave and Heidi over there are going to do some further processing and hopefully have some textile from it.
Yeah, so we have a couple different options in play here for the textile grade long green fibers, and it's very, very much at the beginning yet, and it takes a while to kind of get everything dialed in, the specs that they want and so forth, and then also probably the biggest challenge is a machine that's able to green decorticate in the field, and that's something we're working on, I would have to say, feverishly right now.
And that's not a pipe dream. Like, that's technology that it's been proven elsewhere, right?
Yeah, that's what it's important to mention that particularly in Asia, green decortication is somewhat the standard in some areas, but they all do that by hand. And these little tiny little machines that are stationary, I mean, you could put it on a pallet. And so that's where a lot of the industry for the nice long fibers that it comes out of that method, it's by hand. Well, that's not going to happen here in the U.S. So we set out to build a machine that could do this in the field, that could be pulled by a tractor. And so we're on our third version of it, and we're getting close to test the third version here real soon. So, you know, we're excited about that. And then we kind of have a long list of people who are interested in the machine, and also interested in the fiber and the hurd that comes out of it, because this totally eliminates retting. And that messes with people's hemp world sometimes. But there's advantages to eliminate retting. It's really difficult to be consistent in that due to weather and harvest time, and both harvesting when you cut it and also when you bale it. So we're essentially eliminating that. And it's really another big, I guess you would say, factor is we're doing a couple things at once. We're cutting the hemp, we're decorticating the hemp, and we're separating it, fiber from the hurd, in the field, which, if you think this through, means no dust. And dust is a huge thing in processing and decortication when you dry it, and then you do it, you know, in a stationary building. So we're seeing this is an option out there. We're not rushing to market with this until it's really dialed in. We're just talking about it now. We're working on it. And it's been, again, a challenge to get investors to really believe in it. And but we're making progress, Eric. So feel excited about it. We got 60 acres here we want to test this year. And if I'll have to say it this way, if we get through it and this machine works, then we'll become a little bit more public about the design and the features that it has and everything.
All right, cool. Well, we're all looking forward to seeing more about that.
Yep.
I'm headed out to Tuscarora Mills from here, which I think it's only, about a half an hour drive from here?
Yeah, it's about half an hour from here. Now, if you wouldn't have the river here, it'd be a lot quicker. But you got to go around.
We need the river. We need the river.
That's right.
All right. So, I think that's all I wanted to talk to you about hemp for now, unless there's something else you want to tell me.
Well, I just want to, you mentioned Tuscarora Mills and Dave Cook and Heidi. They're just genuine good people busting their butts to try to get this hemp supply chain going. And I appreciate working with them. They have a desire here to produce Pennsylvania grown fabric, you know, made from hemp. And I admire that. Just good people. And we're just honest, hardworking people trying to get this whole hemp opportunity off the ground.
Well, we're getting there.
We are.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Okay, that was Steve Groff at his farm in Holtwood, standing in the middle of super tall hemp, talking about the green decorticator that he's been developing with Larry Serban. If the machine works the way they hope, it means Pennsylvania farmers could harvest hemp fiber in a whole new way, cleaner, faster, and already decorticated. And that's where Dave Cook comes in. About a half an hour's drive from Steve's farm, across the mighty Susquehanna, over into York County in the town of Red Lion, Dave and his partner Heidi are working at Tuscarora Mills. The goal is simple but ambitious. It's to take Pennsylvania-grown hemp fiber and turn it into yarn, make it into fabric right here in Pennsylvania. So after leaving Steve's field, I drove over to Dave's mill in Red Lion to see how the hemp fiber might begin the next chapter. Hello, Dave.
Hey, Eric, how are you today?
I'm good. So here we are. So I was just over at Steve Groff's farm over in Lancaster County. I've driven across the river. I'm over here in York County now.
Up Route 74.
Yeah.
Red Line.
And I guess I'm kind of on the supply chain trail, right? And I feel like there's a story brewing here, right, about Pennsylvania hemp, about Pennsylvania processing, about Pennsylvania textile. And I might be a little premature. Maybe the story's not fully baked yet. But so I just, came here to see what I could find out from you, because I understand that you're involved in sort of the next part of the supply chain after the hemp at Steve's farm is cut with the green decorticator. So let me know what's happening if you can. Tell me what you can.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of the people in the test kitchen, I guess, whisking things up. So what we're doing with Steve is trying to incorporate his novel harvesting approach towards hemp.
The green decorticator.
The green decorticator. And what we're trying to do is incorporate that green long ribbon fiber that comes out of that machine when it's separated from the herd in the field, and prepare that material for textile purposes.
Okay, and this hasn't really been done yet in the U.S., right?
Well, not in the modern, incarnation of hemp industry that we work in, but green decortication was definitely a method that was used for making rope, where the stalks would be broken in a way that would allow the green fiber to be stripped off in long pieces, and then that green fiber would be twisted right into cordage, into rope, and I've seen demonstrations of that, how it's done. I've seen drawings of how that used to be done, but that's a little bit different than what we're doing, because we'll be processing those green fibers to remove them of the lignin and pectin and open those fiber bundles up to individual fibers that are necessary for our processing needs for making textiles.
Cool. I know, like I said, we're a little early in the journey and you can't tell me too much, but what sort of textiles do you hope to make from Steve's hemp?
Well, what we're going for is what people in China and Europeans are doing is we're trying to use long line fiber to produce yarn, which is a different way of going about a lot of the cottonization that's happening. Most of the people that are working to cottonize, to make hemp yarn out of cottonized hemp, are cutting all the fiber up as a part of the processing, of the decortation processing. So those field retted stalks are taken into a decorticator, which then basically, for lack of a better term, chews everything up, and then the separation of the herd and the separation of the fiber begins a process where each one of those products is refined. So in the case of fiber for textiles, those fibers have to be aligned. They've got to be cleaned. They've got to have some consistency as far as the staple length and as far as the diameter of the fiber, the micron size. And then once you get that to a good enough point, you can feed it into a cotton spinning frame, which generally works with about inch-long pieces of staple of fiber to make yarn. We're doing something that's completely opposite. We use, at the end of the process, fiber that's anywhere from 20 to 30 centimeters in length, 8 to 12 inches in length, somewhere on there. And that's not to say that all the fiber that we're using is all long line. In the course of processing fiber for long line textiles, you end up with shorter fibers, medium length, which would be like 4 to 6 inches, and then the toe fibers, which are inch to 3 inches in long. Okay. Those are all byproducts of the processing process.
Hearing you talk down in North Carolina, you talked a bit about the long fiber versus the cottonized version, and so it sounds like you're sort of eliminating a bunch of processing steps, right? Which would make it more efficient. And it sounds like maybe when you cottonize things, you lose a lot of the attributes that hemp has naturally. Like when you're making it a short fiber and getting it to play nicely with cotton, you lose a lot of benefits of hemp. Do I have that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on the product, right? If you're making like a felting type of material or a batting type of material and so forth, you're probably not going to use 20 centimeter long pieces of fiber. You're going to want to use a shorter type of fiber that is appropriate for that process. And so the answer to your question is sort of yes and no. If you're looking for really all the attributes that people give to hemp and flax, it's 5-6 times stronger than cotton. It's antimicrobial. It's highly resistant to rot and fungal attachments. That's those characteristics are in long line fiber that's been not degummed per se, or had all the lignin and pectin removed from it.
Can you describe this facility? Like, where are we right now?
So we're at Family Heirloom Weavers, which is located in Red Line, Pennsylvania. This is we're standing in the weave room here. We're surrounded by about 40 different, for lack of a better term, antique looms. I think the newest loom we have in here is from the 1970s. Okay. Some of the looms we have in here go back to the 1880s. A lot of the looms that we work on, the Draper looms, are from the 1960s, 1950s, and basically it's a sort of a microcosm of weaving in America in the 20th century.
Right. And you've got lots of spools of thread up there. A lot of it is hemp thread, right? Can you talk about the material you're bringing in?
Sure. Well, in weaving parlance, they're cones, or they're called packages, okay, right? And so each cone has between 1 and 4 pounds of yarn that are wound onto it, and each yarn has a different diameter or a different count, and the nature of the business is without yarn you can't fill a loom and you can't make any fabric. So everything starts with the fiber that gets spun into the yarn, and then the yarn, depending upon the material that you're trying to produce and the loom that you're trying to work with, you have to sort of match those things up and line things up. So we have a lot of yarn from a lot of different places. A lot of it's hemp, a lot of it's flax, a lot of it's organic cotton. We have American wool back there. We have tencel, and we have a little bit of silk as well.
Okay. The cones of hemp over there, mm-hmm. You said some they're from all over the place. When you were giving me the tour, you mentioned some were American, some were European. Can you talk about the American hemp that you're getting in?
Well, we don't really have a lot of American hemp yarn per se.
That's kind of why you're doing all this, right? Because you want American hemp.
That was the intent when I got started. I was going to grow it in my field out in Bedford County and process it and turn it into yarn. And I thought that was going to be really simple. And little did I know that I was going to become fully immersed in a supply chain that I was going to become that was necessary for me to be able to just weave fabric.
Yeah. You had to understand everything from the ground all the way up.
Oh, literally, literally. So it's been quite a journey figuring out everything from the genetics through the agronomy, through the harvesting, through the different methods of processing, ultimately to understanding the specifications of the fiber necessary to produce certain types of yarn that are necessary to weave certain types of fabric with certain types of looms.
Yeah. So you were telling me a bit of your backstory, and you've been in textiles, your whole career, we could say that?
Sort of? 1986.
86. All right. And why hemp? Why did you want to sort of pivot to hemp or get into hemp in the first place now that you see how much trouble it is?
Well, in Colorado, I grew up in Colorado, and I rode a bicycle with my friends all the time. And as we got older, we would ride out from Boulder east out into the plains. And there were like really cool rides. We could get, like 40, 50 miles into the day. And one day we were riding down this road and we saw all these marijuana plants growing in the ditch. And we thought, wow, this is pretty cool. And we picked some of the plants and we took them home and we burned them up in the oven in our house. My mom came home and was like, what the hell is going on here, right? And so little did we know that what we had stumbled upon was feral hemp that was growing. Ditchweed, literally. And this was a byproduct of the American hemp industry that was still going strong. Nature hadn't given up on the process yet. And so that was my first introduction to hemp. I probably found other ways of interacting with cannabis sativa as I went through my adolescence and into adulthood. But when I started working with textiles, I understood that hemp was a fiber that was used to make fabric. And one day when I was in college, I got a copy of Jack Herer's book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and I read through that. And that was like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. The government's shut down this whole thing, and all the different stories and along with that. And then when I started actually getting into actually making clothing and working with actual fabrics and different things, my partner Heidi Custer and I had a real interest in hemp as just another material, another fiber, another fabric to work with. And we worked in India for a long time, and we would we'd go to markets and dealers, and we would see hemp fabric. But most of the hemp that we saw was like sort of like the Nepalese backpack burlap bag stuff. It was really pretty bad. And then sometimes we would find stuff that would come from China that was like a lot more refined. A lot of times it was blended with silk, and so we worked with that stuff, and we made some things, and we thought this was really cool. But I guess it really wasn't until we got back to the United States in the aughts, and the whole 2014, 2018 hemp bill came along and everything. And, the opportunity to actually grow hemp on our farm and not be criminals, and to grow hemp for textile purposes seemed like a great idea. And, we drank the Kool-Aid like everybody else.
All right. Well, I appreciate you having me out here to the mill out here in Red Lion. It's neat to catch up with you. And we'll check back in and see how this story develops, all right? Because I'm expecting some really cool stuff from here. You were about to tell me something else.
I wanted to go back to when you asked about the mill and where we were standing and everything. I wanted to talk about Patrick and his family and everything. So we're in Red Lion at Family Heirloom Weavers. Family Heirloom Weavers is a family business that was started by David Klein, and continues today by his son Patrick Klein, who's a dear friend and mentor to me. When Heidi Custer and I first started to try to make hemp fabric in 2019, Patrick was the person that we came to. We discovered this mill right after the hemp conference.
The Hemp Summit. The 2019 Hemp Summit.
Yeah, in Lancaster County. I left there and I came over here, and that's how we got started. And Patrick's been incredibly generous and super kind, and has allowed us for our business to grow as first commission weavers, and now actually owning our own looms and working here. So this place here was put together by Patrick and his dad all through the 90s and early 2000s. As the textile industry collapsed in our region here. Patrick's dad, David Klein, was a loom repairman, and they started gathering old looms that were going to be scrapped, and they brought them here, and they put together this weave room, which basically I think is probably one of the largest collections of antique looms that still operate and actually work in a commercial sense in the United States. So it's almost like a living history museum, and at the same time it's like a great place to learn how to weave, and it's a great place to make really the textiles that are emblematic of the Pennsylvania textile tradition.
And this place could be sort of the rebirth of textiles in Pennsylvania, right?
Well, there's other weavers in Pennsylvania.
Not to me. You're the only one, Dave. No. Tell me about the other weavers in PA.
Well, there's MTL in the Scranton area. There's a couple in the Philadelphia area, much more commercial oriented places, and they are everybody that's still in business in the textile industry has a niche, has a specific product that's allowed them to survive in a very, very competitive global marketplace.
Cool. All right. Well, again, thank you for having me out here. It's super cool to see behind the scenes, and I learned a lot today about how fabric is made. I had no idea how complex everything is and how big some of these machines are, and I love all of the words that you have for things, like, was it weft and warp and weft and shuttles and all kinds of stuff.
Mill ends.
Yeah, yep. Super cool. So again, thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming out, Eric. It's been great talking to you.
All right, there you go. Dave Cook from Tuscarora Mills. So we went from Holtwood to Red Lion. We're stitching the pieces of a Pennsylvania supply chain together. Steve Groff, Dave Cook, they're not just talking about what's possible they're showing up and they're showing us what it looks like when farmers and makers work together to keep value here at home. Yeah, it's not finished, it's not perfect, but it's a beginning. But this is the end of the show. Thank you for listening. My name is Eric Herlock. I am the senior digital editor at Lancaster Farming Newspaper, the greatest agricultural newspaper in the world. Check us out online at lancasterfarming.com. Sign up for our newsletters, get a subscription to our print edition, stay up to date on all the stories in agriculture. If you have any comments or questions for me, you can send an email. Send it to eHerlock, that's EHURLOCK, at lancasterfarming.com. All right, until next time, I'll see you in the newspaper.
This episode of The Hemp Show was written, recorded, and produced by Eric Herlock. Mixing and mastering by Justin Berger. Music by Eric Herlock. The Hemp Show is copyright 2025 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family.